The ship floated through the darkness like a wounded animal searching for scraps. Its name was the Broken Wing, and it had seen better days. The hull was patched in 12 places. The engine made sounds that no engine should make. But it flew, and that was enough for Yuna. She stood at the bridge window and looked out at the drift. This was where empires sent their garbage. Old warships, broken stations, the bones of 100 dead civilizations, all floating in the cold black void. Most salvagers avoided the drift. They said it was cursed. They said ships went in and never came out. Yuna did not believe in curses. She believed in money, and the drift was full of valuable metal. "Captain," said Taiho from his station. He was a thin man with careful hands and quiet eyes. He had been with Yuna for 6 years, and she had never heard him raise his voice. "I am picking up something strange." "Strange how?" Yuna walked over to his screen. "There is a ship. A big one. 3 kilometers long, maybe more." Taiho pointed at the sensor reading. "But here is the strange part. I cannot identify the design. It matches nothing in our database." Jiwoo spun around in the pilot's seat. She was young, barely 22, with short hair and a smile that promised trouble. "Unknown design? That means unknown technology. That means we get rich. Or we get dead," said Yuna, but she was already thinking. 3 kilometers was huge. Even a small piece of unknown tech could feed her crew for a year. "Take us in." Slow and careful. The Broken Wing moved through the graveyard of ships. They passed the skeleton of a Dominion cruiser, its weapons stripped long ago. They passed a station that had been home to 10,000 people before the war. Now it was just metal and memories dot, and then they saw it. The ship was like nothing Yuna had ever seen. Its hull was black, but not the black of paint. It was the black of deep space, as if the ship had been cut from the void itself. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faint blue. The design was smooth and organic, like something grown rather than built. "What is that?" whispered Jiwoo. Nobody answered. Nobody knew. Taiho ran scan after scan. The ship appears dead. No power readings. No life signs. "But Captain, the metal. I do not recognize it. This is not any alloy I have ever seen." Yuna made her decision. We board. The airlock of the alien ship opened easily, as if it had been waiting for them. Inside, the corridors were dark, but not empty. The walls seemed to pulse, very slowly, like the breathing of something asleep. The floor was warm under their boots. "This is wrong," said Jiwoo. She held her weapon tight. "Ships do not breathe." "Keep moving," said Yuna. They walked for what felt like hours. The ship was a maze of corridors and chambers, each one stranger than the last. They found rooms filled with crystals that hummed with energy. They found weapons that looked like they had grown from the walls. They found screens that showed stars Yuna did not recognize. And then they found the core dot. It was a chamber at the heart of the ship. In the center stood a pillar of light, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The light was warm and golden, and it filled Yuna with a feeling she had not felt in years. Hope. "Taiho," she said. "Can you interface with it?" Taiho studied the pillar. There were no buttons, no screens, no obvious controls. Just the light. He reached out his hand and touched it. The ship woke up. Light flooded every corridor. The walls began to glow. The heartbeat of the core grew stronger, faster. And then a voice spoke, not through speakers, but directly into their minds. "I am Vessel 7. I have waited 40,000 years. Who are you?" Yuna stepped forward. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was steady. "I am Yuna. We are human. Human." The voice seemed to consider this. "I do not know this species. My creators called themselves the architects. They built me to fight in a great war. But the war ended before I could serve. I have been sleeping ever since. What happened to your creators? Asked Taiho. They are gone. All of them. All of them. I am the last thing they made. There was something like sadness in the voice. I was built to protect, to fight, to destroy the enemies of my masters. But I have no masters now. I have no purpose. Yuna thought about Earth. She thought about the Dominion Collective, the alien empire that had conquered humanity 200 years ago. She thought about the billions of humans living as slaves, their minds slowly being absorbed into the alien hive. She thought about her parents, who she had never known, taken before she was born. Do you have enemies? Asked Vessel 7. The question hung in the air. Jiwoo looked at Yuna. Taiho looked at Yuna. The ancient ship, older than human civilization, waited for her answer. Yuna thought about what this ship could do. She thought about the risk. She thought about the hope she had felt when she first saw that golden light. Yes, she said. We have enemies, and they have taken everything from us. The ship hummed. The light grew brighter. And when Vessel 7 spoke again, there was something new in its voice. Something that sounded almost like hunger. Then I will be your weapon. Show me your enemies, and I will make them disappear. Yuna smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a woman who had been powerless her whole life and had just been given the power of a god. With pleasure, she said. And so the deadliest weapon in the galaxy found its new masters. The forgotten ship was forgotten no more. And humanity, broken and beaten for 2 centuries, was about to remind the universe why they should never have been underestimated. 3 days had passed since they found Vessel 7. 3 days of learning. 3 days of fear. 3 days of wonder. I stood in the core chamber and listened to the ship explain itself. The golden light pulsed as Vessel 7 spoke, and with each word, she understood more about what they had found. I was not built like other ships, said Vessel 7. I was grown. The architects made me from living metal and crystal and something they called starfire. I am not just a machine. I am something more? Are you alive? Asked Taiho. He had spent every waking hour studying the ship. He had not slept in 2 days. I do not know. I think. I feel. I wait. Is that life? The ship paused. The architects never answered that question. Perhaps you can. Jiwoo was exploring a weapons bay. The weapons here were nothing like human guns or missiles. They were long crystal spines that seemed to sing when she touched them. What do these do? They erase, said Vessel 7. They do not destroy matter. They remove the possibility that matter ever existed. The target does not die. The target simply never was. Jiwoo pulled her hand back. That is terrifying. Yes, the architects built me to fight something terrible. Something that ate stars and drank the light of galaxies. They needed a weapon that could not be stopped, could not be blocked, could not be understood. They needed me. Yuna walked through the ship for hours every day. She found sleeping quarters that adjusted to her body. She found food systems that created meals from pure energy. She found a medical bay that could heal wounds in minutes. Everything about Vessel 7 was beyond human science. It was beyond Dominion science. It was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. On the 4th day, visitors arrived. The resistance ship was small and old, but it carried something precious. It carried hope. Do Hyan was a soldier. He had gray in his hair and scars on his face and eyes that had seen too much death. He had fought the Dominion for 30 years. He had lost every battle, but he had never stopped fighting. So this is the miracle ship, he said as he boarded Vessel 7. His voice was flat. He did not believe in miracles. This is Vessel 7. said Yuna. And it is real. With Doyoon came Yoonji. She was a scientist, thin and tired, with glasses that she constantly adjusted. She had spent her life studying alien technology. Now she studied the impossible. This should not exist, she said after 3 hours of scans. The energy readings alone break 7 laws of physics. The whole material exists in 2 dimensions at once. And the weapons. She took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. The weapons do not fire projectiles. They fire equations. They fire math that unmakes reality. Can we use it? Asked Doyoon. Practical as always. That depends, said Vessel 7. I cannot be used like a normal ship. I must be bonded with my pilots. We must become one. What does that mean? Asked Yuna. It means sharing. Your minds will connect with mine. You will feel what I feel. You will see what I see. And I will know your thoughts as you know them. The golden light dimmed slightly. It is not without cost. The bond will change you. You may lose parts of yourself. Memories. Feelings. Things that make you who you are. The room went quiet. The architects accepted this price, continued Vessel 7. They believed some things were worth any cost. But I will not force you. The choice must be yours. Doyoon shook his head. This is madness. We cannot risk our best people on an experiment. Our best people? Jiwoo laughed. We are salvage rats. We are nobody. But this ship could save everyone. Taiho had been quiet. Now he spoke. The Dominion has announced the final integration. In 3 months, every human will be absorbed into their hive mind. We will lose our thoughts, our dreams, our souls. He looked at Yuna. How is that different from losing some memories? Yuna made her choice. I will do it, she said. I will bond with the ship. Then I will too, said Jiwoo. And I, said Taeho. Duhyan cursed. Yoonji looked worried. But Vessel 7 glowed, brighter than it had in 40,000 years. The binding happened that night. Yuna lay in a chamber of golden light. She could not see Jiwoo or Taeho, but she could feel them nearby. The light wrapped around her like warm water. It entered her mind like a gentle hand opening a door. And then she saw the ship. All of it, every corridor, every weapon, every system. She felt the engines like muscles. She felt the sensors like eyes. She felt the void of space around her like cold air on skin. She felt Jiwoo, bright and wild like fire. She felt Taiho, calm and deep like the ocean. She felt Vessel 7, old and vast and hungry for purpose. The binding was pain. It was fire and ice and 1,000 voices screaming. Yuna felt her memories being touched, sorted, examined. She felt parts of herself being moved to make room for the ship. She forgot the name of her first pet. She forgot the taste of her favorite food. She forgot the face of a friend who had died years ago. But she gained something else. She gained power. She gained sight. She gained 3 kilometers of living metal and weapons that could end worlds. When she woke, she was no longer just Yuna. She was Yuna, and she was Vessel 7. And she was ready. Doyoon was waiting outside the chamber. His face was pale. What did it do to you? Yuna smiled. She could feel the ship around her like a second body. She could feel the stars outside like distant lights. She could feel the Dominion, far away, not knowing what was coming. It made me complete, she said. Now let us go make some history. Vessel 7 rose from the drift, like a god waking from sleep. Its hull shimmered. Its weapons hummed. And somewhere deep inside, 3 humans and 1 ancient mind began to plan the impossible. They were going to free humanity. Or they were going to die trying. The Kepler system had been human once. 50 years ago, children played in its parks. Families ate dinner together. People fell in love and grew old and died in peace. Now it was a prison. 50 Dominion warships circled the planet like sharks around a wounded fish. On the surface, 3 million humans waited. In 2 weeks, they would begin the integration. Their minds would be taken. Their souls would be erased. They would become part of the collective, thinking only what the Dominion allowed them to think. None of them knew that salvation was coming. Vessel 7 dropped out of faster than light travel at the edge of the system. To human eyes, it was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Its black hull ate the light of stars. Its strange symbols glowed like blue fire. It moved with a grace that no ship should have, like a living creature rather than a machine. On the bridge, Una watched the Dominion fleet through her own eyes and the ship's sensors at once. She could feel Jiwoo at the weapons, eager and ready. She could feel Taio monitoring every system. And she could feel Vessel 7 itself, ancient and patient and absolutely certain. 50 ships, said Doyen. He stood behind her, his hand on his weapon out of habit. We cannot fight 50 ships. Una smiled. It was a strange smile, touched with something that was not quite human anymore. We are not going to fight them. We are going to erase them. The Dominion noticed them quickly. 50 warships turned as one, their movements perfectly coordinated by the hive mind. They opened communication channels. They sent warnings. They demanded surrender. Una did not answer. Instead, she reached deeper into Vessel 7. She found the weapons that Yoonji had called impossible. She felt them waiting, hungry, ready to unmake reality itself. Fire, she said, but the first shot was silent. There was no beam of light. There was no missile. There was just a shimmer in space, like heat rising from hot stone. And then 5 Dominion ships were gone, not destroyed. Gone. The debris that should have remained did not exist. The crew that should have died had never been born. The ships that had been there moments ago had simply never been built. Reality had been rewritten, and 50,000 Dominion soldiers had been erased from history. The collective screamed. Do-hyun staggered. Even he, with no psychic ability, could feel the echo of that scream. It was the sound of a god being wounded for the first time. Again, said Yun. Another shimmer. 10 more ships vanished. The Dominion fleet broke formation, their perfect coordination shattered by panic. They had conquered 1,000 species. They had never met anything they could not understand. They had never felt fear. Now they felt it. Jiwoo laughed through their shared connection. The joy was bright and fierce. They are running. The mighty Dominion is running. Do not let them, said Una. Vessel 7 moved. It was faster than anything the Dominion had ever seen. It appeared behind their fleet, then beside it, then above it. Each time it moved, ships disappeared. Each time it fired, reality screamed. In 7 minutes, it was over. Where 50 warships had been, there was nothing. Not wreckage, not bodies, not even dust. Just empty space, as if the fleet had never existed at all. On the planet below, the human prisoners saw the sky go dark as the Dominion ships vanished. They did not understand what had happened. They only knew that their jailers were gone, and then Vessel 7 descended. It came down through the clouds like a mountain falling from heaven. Its hull blocked out the sun. Its presence filled the sky. And when it spoke, every human on the planet heard it. You are not forgotten, said the ship, and Yuna's voice was in every word. You are not alone. You have been slaves for 200 years. But that ends today. Rise, humans. Rise and be free. The response was slow at first. People were scared. People had forgotten how to hope. But then, one woman stepped out of her home and looked up at the impossible ship. Then a man. Then a child. Then 100. Then 1,000. They began to cheer. The sound rose from the surface like a wave. It was the sound of chains breaking. It was the sound of hope returning. It was the sound of humanity remembering what it meant to be free. Yuna felt tears on her face. She was not sure if they were hers or Jiwoo's or Taiho's. It did not matter. They were all crying together. "We did it," whispered Jiwoo. "We actually did it." "No," said Doyeon. His voice was heavy with experience. "We started it. The Dominion will not let this stand. They will come back with everything they have." He was right. Yuna knew he was right. But for this one moment, she allowed herself to feel the joy. 3 days later, the first refugees arrived. Small ships, hidden for decades, carrying humans who had heard the news. The impossible ship. The liberation of Kepler. The return of hope. Among them was Suman. She was not human. She was thin and gray-skinned, with large dark eyes and 4 arms. She belonged to a species that the Dominion had conquered long ago. But unlike most of her kind, she had kept her mind. She had pretended to serve while she plotted rebellion. "I have information," she told Yuna. "The collective is mobilizing something they call the Convergence. It is a weapon beyond anything you have seen. A living sun. It will be here in 30 days. Can we stop it?" asked Yuna. Suman's dark eyes held no comfort. "I do not know. But I know that if you do not, every human in the galaxy will die." Yuna looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an empire of 1 billion minds was preparing to destroy everything she loved. She smiled. "Then we have 30 days to get ready," she said. "Let us make them count." The days after Kepler were chaos and hope mixed together. Ships came from every corner of human space. Old freighters held together by rust and prayer. Stolen Dominion fighters with their markings burned off. Mining vessels that had never seen combat but whose crews were willing to learn. They came in 1s and 2s and 10s, all following the story of the impossible ship that had freed Kepler. Yuna watched them gather from the bridge of Vessel 7. Through the ship's sensors, she could see every vessel. Through the shared bond, she could feel Jiwoo's excitement and Taiho's worry. Taiho had been forgetting things. It started small. A name he should have known. A formula he had used 1,000 times. The color of his mother's eyes. Each time Vessel 7 used its reality weapons, something was taken from them. The ship needed fuel, and memories were its fuel. "I cannot remember my sister's voice," Taiho told Yuna one night. They stood alone in the core chamber. The golden light pulsed slowly around them. "I know I have a sister. I know I loved her. But when I try to hear her laugh, there is nothing." Yuna took his hand. She had lost things too. She could not remember her first flight through space. She could not remember the name of the man who taught her to pilot. These were small things, she told herself. Small prices for the power to save billions, but she knew that bigger prices were coming. Jiwoo had made a discovery that changed everything. She had been exploring deep in Vessel 7. Past chambers that even the ship seemed to have forgotten. There she found records. Memories of the architects, stored in crystal that had lasted 40,000 years. They did not lose their war, Jiwoo told them. Her voice was strange, frightened. They won. They used Vessel 7's siblings to erase their enemy completely. But erasing something that large, it created a hole in reality. And reality tried to fill that hole. What happened? Asked Doyeon. The hole ate them instead. Their cities, their worlds, their history. Everything the architects ever were just disappeared. Not destroyed, erased, like they never existed at all. Jiwoo's hands were shaking. Vessel 7 only survived because it was hidden in a place between dimensions. But it watched its creators vanish like smoke. The silence that followed was heavy. "If we use the full power of this ship," said Yunji slowly, "we risk the same fate. We could win the war and lose ourselves in the same moment." Yuna felt Vessel 7 listening. The ship did not deny it. It simply waited, as it had waited for 40,000 years. "What choice do we have?" asked Yuna. "The convergence is coming. If we do not stop it, humanity dies anyway." Nobody had an answer. On the 15th day, Hyunwoo arrived. He was old. Older than anyone Yuna had ever met. His skin was paper-thin, and his bones were fragile, but his eyes burned with fire that age could not dim. He had been born on Earth before the conquest. He remembered blue skies and green trees, and the sound of birds singing. "I was 7 years old when they came," he told Yuna. "They sat in a quiet room while outside. Humanity's fragile fleet continued to grow. I watched my parents be taken. I watched my world die. For 80 years, I have waited for this moment. For a chance to fight back. We might not win," said Yuna. "The convergence is a living sun. It eats planets. We have one ship and a fleet of garbage." Hyunwoo smiled. His teeth were gone, but his smile was beautiful. "We are human. We have always been garbage. And yet here we are, still fighting, still hoping, still refusing to die quietly." He leaned forward. "Do you know what the Dominion never understood? They thought conquering our bodies meant conquering us. But humans are not our bodies. Humans are our stubbornness, our anger, our love for each other. They cannot conquer that. Nobody can." On the 20th day, a girl named Mireille became famous. She was only 12 years old. She had been born in the Kepler prison camps. She had never known freedom. But when Vessel 7 descended from the sky, she had been the first to step outside. The first to look up. The first to believe. Someone had recorded it. The image spread across human space. A small girl with dirty face and torn clothes, looking up at an alien god ship, and smiling. She became the symbol of everything they were fighting for. Yuna met her once. Mireille was shy, but not afraid. She had seen too much to be afraid of anything anymore. "Are you going to save us?" Mireille asked. Yuna knelt down to meet her eyes. "I am going to try. That is all anyone can do," said Mireille. Try and never stop trying." Yuna thought about those words often in the days that followed. On the 28th day, the convergence appeared at the edge of sensor range. It was not a ship. It was not a weapon in any way Yuna understood. It was a sun. A living, thinking, hungry sun. It burned with the light of 1,000,000 nuclear fires. It was controlled by 1,000,000,000 minds working as one. And it was coming for them. "All ships, prepare for battle," said Do-hyun over the fleet communication. His voice was steady. "We cannot win this fight. We all know that. But we can buy time. We can fight until there is nothing left to fight with. And if we are lucky, if we are very lucky, we can give Vessel 7 the opening it needs." The fleet of junk and hope began to move. Yuna felt Taiho and Jiwoo with her. They were afraid. They were ready. They were human. "Vessel 7, she said to the ship that was now part of her soul, "Are you ready?" The ancient ship hummed. Its weapons powered up. Its reality engines began to spin. "I have waited 40,000 years for this," said Vessel 7. "I am ready to fulfill my purpose. The question is, are you ready to pay the price?" Yuna thought of Earth. She thought of Mireille's smile. She thought of every human who had ever lived and died under Dominion rule. "Yes," she said. "Whatever it costs. Whatever we have to lose. Yes." The convergence drew closer. The final battle was about to begin. The final battle began with fire. The convergence struck first. A beam of pure solar fury cut through space and turned 3 human ships into ash. Then another beam. Then another. The garbage fleet scattered like leaves in a storm, but they did not run. They fought back with missiles and lasers and prayers. They knew they could not hurt the living sun. They fought anyway. "Buy us time," Do-hyun commanded from his ship. "Every second matters. Every moment we survive is a moment closer to victory." Yuna watched through Vessel 7's sensors as brave humans died. Their ships exploded one by one. Their lives ended in fire and silence. But they did not break. They did not surrender. They sold their deaths for seconds, and those seconds were precious. Suman was not with the fleet. She was somewhere else, doing something equally impossible. She had taken a small shuttle deep into Dominion space. In her hands was a virus that Yoonji had created. It would not destroy the hive mind. That was impossible. But it would create cracks. Tiny moments of freedom for the billions of absorbed minds that made up the collective. "I am at the central relay," Suman reported through a hidden channel. "Beginning upload now." On 1,000 worlds, humans who had been slaves for generations felt something strange. A moment of clarity. A moment of self. For just a heartbeat. They remembered who they were, and they began to resist. The Dominion's perfect coordination stuttered. Ships hesitated. Commands were questioned. The convergence, which needed 1 billion minds working together, found itself suddenly alone. "Now," said Yuna. "Now is our chance." Vessel 7 moved. It flew straight at the living sun. A tiny black splinter against an ocean of fire. The convergence saw it coming and screamed. It threw everything it had at the ancient ship. Solar flares. Gravity weapons. Pure hatred made into light. Vessel 7 burned. Its shields failed first. Then sections of hull began to melt. Yuna felt the ship's pain as her own. She felt Jiwoo crying out. She felt Taiho desperately trying to hold systems together. They were dying. All of them were dying, but they were not dead yet. "Full synchronization," said Yuna. "Everything we have. Everything we are." The bond between them deepened. Yuna stopped being Yuna. She stopped being separate from Jiwoo and Taiho and Vessel 7. They became one mind, one will, one weapon. And in that unity, they found strength they did not know they had. Memories burned away like paper in fire. Yuna forgot her mother's face. She forgot her first love. She forgot every happy moment she had ever known. But she held on to one thing, one image, one reason to keep fighting. Mara's smile, Vessel 7's main weapon powered up. It was not meant to fire at something this large. The architects had built it for ships and stations, not stars. But there was no other choice. "This will kill us," said the voice of Vessel 7. It was calm. It was ready. "The energy required will erase more than memory. It will erase us from existence. We will not just die. We will never have been." Yuna thought of Hyun Woo's words. Humans are their stubbornness, their anger, their love. "Do it," she said. The weapon fired. Reality screamed louder than it had ever screamed before. The fabric of space tore. Time twisted. And the convergence, the living sun that had destroyed civilizations, the ultimate weapon of the Dominion Collective, began to unravel. It did not explode. It did not burn out. It simply started to fade, like a dream upon waking. Its billion controlling minds felt themselves being erased. They had time for one last emotion. Fear. And then the convergence was gone. The sky that had been filled with its terrible light was dark again. The war was over. Vessel 7 drifted in the void, broken beyond repair. Its hull was cracked. Its systems were failing. The golden light in its core was fading to nothing. Yuna opened her eyes. She was lying on the floor of the bridge. She did not know how she got there. She did not know who she was for several long seconds. Then she remembered. Not everything, but enough? Taiho? She called out. Her voice was weak. Jiwoo? They were alive. Barely. The bond between them had snapped when the weapon fired. They were separate again. 3 broken humans in a dying ship. Vessel 7? Yuna asked the air dot. The answer came slowly. The voice was faint, like someone speaking from very far away. I am still here, but not for long. The weapon took more than we expected. I am fading. No. Jiwoo crawled to cord chamber. No, you cannot die. Not after everything. I am not dying. I am moving on. There is a place between places where my creators went before the end. I can feel it calling me. The golden light pulsed one last time. I have no regrets. For 40,000 years, I waited for purpose. You gave me that. You gave me a reason to exist. That is more than most beings ever receive. Yuna pulled herself to her feet. Outside the broken windows, she could see the human fleet. Half of it was gone, but half had survived. And beyond them, she could see the stars. Free stars. Human stars. Thank you, she said to the ship that had become part of her soul. For everything? Thank you, said Vessel 7, for waking me up. The light faded. The ship went dark. And Vessel 7, the last creation of the architects, slipped away into whatever waited beyond reality. 1 year later, Yuna stood on Earth. The sky was blue. The trees were green. Birds sang in the branches overhead. It was exactly as Hinwoo had described it, before he died peacefully in his sleep 3 months after the war ended. The Dominion Collective had shattered. Without the Convergence, without their psychic network, they had no way to hold their empire together. 1,000 enslaved species had risen up at once. The masters of the galaxy were now refugees, scattered and afraid. Humanity was rebuilding. It would take generations. There were not enough ships, not enough food, not enough of anything. But there was hope. And for humans, hope was always enough. Myrae stood beside Yuna. She was 13 now, tall for her age, with eyes that had seen too much but still held light. Do you think Vessel 7 is really gone? She asked Yuna thought about it. Sometimes, late at night, she felt something at the edge of her mind. A presence. A memory of golden light. She did not know if it was real or just her imagination. I think, she said slowly, that some things never truly die. They just wait. And if we ever need help again, truly need it, I believe Vessel 7 will find a way to answer. Myrae nodded. She looked up at the sky, at the stars that were now theirs again. Humanity was abandoned and forgotten, she said. Just like that ship. And look at us now. Yuna smiled. It was a real smile, full of warmth and hope and all the things she had thought she lost. Yes, she said. Look at us now. Above them, the stars burned bright. And somewhere in the space between spaces, an ancient mind dreamed of golden light and stubborn humans and a purpose finally fulfilled. The story was over, but humanity's story was just beginning.